Hey guys, what's up? lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss Roanoke, American Horror Story Roanoke. It's a very interesting season. It's 10 episodes long. First half of the season is a documentary about my Roanoke nightmare. And then the second half is about the sequel to my Roanoke nightmare, which is Return to Roanoke 3 Days in Hell. But it's filmed, that second half is filmed as in splicing together different TV shows. Like there's a Cracked of one of the characters, Lee Harris, because she cracked. And then there's another TV series, Spirit Chasers, which is filming at this Roanoke house. The found footage of everything. So it's interesting because it's very different from what we've learned, from what we were used to for the past 5 seasons of Horror Story. It's hard for me to take this at a complete horror bit because there's a lot of comedy to it that really isn't intended for comedy, and I know that only because Ryan Murphy, who's the creator and one of the executive producers of this amazing TV series, also created Scream Queens on Fox for 2 seasons in 2015 and 2016. One of the greatest series that ever existed. Because of the constant dialogue, because of the humor mixed in with the actual horror comedy bit. Perfect characters, perfectly well-rounded characters, and you have some actors and actresses from Horror Story mixed in with Scream Queens, and then vice versa. So the second season of Scream Queens was premiering the same time as season 6 Roanoke of Horror Story was. So in my mind, for some reason, I'm just assimilating season 6 as more of that horror comedy aspect versus a dramatic horror aspect. Plane. There's too many planes today. Well, we'll wait. The joys of living on an island. You're surrounded by water. You have sun in the summer. Right now we're at the beginnings of fall, so we have the weird rain spurts coming out of nowhere, but it's an island. I live on an island. It's just how it happens. There's 1,000 airports everywhere, hence the constant airplanes. I'm 1 mile away from the water that way. I am less than a mile away from the trains that way. So there's constant noise. Whatever. We got a lull. Okay. So, enough of my tangent. So yeah, Scream Queen season 2 was 2016 when Roanoke season 6 of Horror Story was going. So it's that horror comedy as far as I'm concerned. Specifically, one of my absolute favorite lines from this TV series, the entirety of Horror Story so far, is in season 6, and Sarah Paulson's character says it. One of Sarah, she plays 2 different characters in this series. She says at one point during a murder spree, she's like, "Oh, leave me alone. I'm not American. I'm not used to this carnage." And it's hysterical because it's true. There's so much carnage that goes on in this country from all of these crazy white guys, and for some reason the current political climate, current administration doesn't acknowledge the fact that white males are the biggest terror threat to the country. Not anyone Middle Eastern, but who am I to judge the current administration? So anyway, that's one of my favorite lines in this entire series so far, just because of that sense of realism that was supposed to be taken at actual face value, but I took it in a completely twisted comical way, because it's true. That's the thing. You're supposed to laugh at reality. That's what comedy is, laughing at reality, right? So, the first 5 episodes of this season, like I said, was based on a documentary. So you have these real people played by actors and actresses. Real people. Lily Rabb plays this girl, Shelby. This guy, whose name I don't remember, plays this guy, Matt. And then in the TV version of the reenactments of this documentary, you have Sarah Paulson playing this girl who is an actress, but she's actually playing this Shelby character. And then you have Cuba Gooding Jr. playing this actor, Dominic, who's playing the character of Matt. So it's a actor within an actor kind of scenario. The first five episodes. You have Kathy Bates playing this character called Agnes, who goes schizo, and because she thinks she's her butcher character, the butcher. So the concept of Roanoke in general is that there were these European settlers coming from England in the late 1500s. They settled on the coast of North Carolina, and some of them wanted to travel inland. Some of them wanted to follow the Tomlin, I can't remember her last name, who was in charge of Roanoke, the butcher, before she was the butcher. She was staying on the coast until her husband came back with more provisions and medicine and stuff like that. So there was a mutiny, and she goes off into the wild because her son was a traitor and all this stuff. So then she meets this nature witch or something to that extent, who was another European settler from however many years prior to that, but then like she was an outcast, and she made a deal with some ancient gods and the spirit. So it's like, this is like pre-Christian God stuff, pre-Judaism God stuff, pre-Islam God stuff, because those three religions all have the same God despite everyone fighting over it. So we're talking about the ancient gods prior to the birth of Jesus. Okay, so she was a druid. Those of you who don't know what a druid is, more of Celtic lore, not even lore, but on a Celtic basis, druids are ones with nature, practice in nature, cherish nature, naturalists. So she was making deals with the druid gods to be successful in this new world. So she became this hybrid creature of new versus old, and ruling the lands. And then she found the butcher lost in the woods, and she rips out the heart of a boar, and she's like, declare yourself to me, serve to me. So then the butcher declares to the witch, and then kills off the entire colony of Roanoke when they get to Roanoke, North Carolina, which is vastly inland compared to the sea level, to the shore. So that's the backstory that we're given of Roanoke. So then, fast forward to the 1700s, you have this character called Edward Philippe Mott, played by the one and only Evan Peters, who is awesome, who again is playing an actor who's playing an actor. And Evan is playing a character named Rory, who is an actor playing the character of Edward the Ghost. Edward Mott escaped Philadelphia, not escaped, but left his wife and heir son in Philadelphia, took his millions and his art and his black slave lover, Guinness. Is that his name, Guinness? Yeah. I was going to say California, to North Carolina. Built a mansion on the land in Roanoke that the butcher had claimed to, quote unquote, based off of all of the lore that we were given at this point, the mythology. And then he's only in there for 2 days, and all of the Roanoke people start to kill them all, and he becomes the first ghost of that house. So then it's another ghost story. It's a matter of every cycle of the blood moon is a 3-day cycle. And anyone who's on the premise during the blood moon cycle gets killed by the ghosts that are claimed to the land. So then you have this family in the 1970s, the Chens, they get viciously murdered. You have these two nurses killing a bunch of people a couple decades before that. I think it was before that. They get murdered. You have these hunters in like 05-ish who get murdered during the blood moon. You have this family called the Polks, Polks, living on the land, living on an adjacent land, but they've made a deal with the butcher over the course of a 200-year time period to be spared so long as they provide the blood sacrifice. So then, in the documentary, first 5 episodes, it's showing that, and then in the subsequent 5 episodes, finalizing the season that return to Roanoke, you have the real Polks taking the actors and actual humans that are returning to Roanoke to film a series and doing their own weird mutilation things and their inbred stuff, and it's creepy. It's hard to remember the character names, even though there's only 10 episodes, because actors in real life are playing actors on the show who are playing other characters. So there's a triple name thing going on, and you have certain characters, you have certain actors returning from previous seasons of Horror Story. One of my favorite returns, which not many people realize this, is Matt Bomer from season 4, and he had a main character role in season 5. He had a small cameo in this season, and you wouldn't know this unless you know his voice. He was a narrator for one of the final episodes of Roanoke by just narrating one of the fake TV shows within the TV show. And you're not going to notice that unless you know Matt's voice. I know Matt's voice. Matt Bomer's amazing. He's an amazing father. He's an amazing actor. He's just a god amongst us mere mortals. And he's very humble about himself, too. You don't hear anything publicity about him. It's like, you don't hear, oh, Matt Bomer was drunk and did this, and oh, Matt Bomer got a DUI and did that. No. Matt Bomer is an amazing human being. From what I have seen, he could be a complete monster, but I highly doubt it, because it's Matt Bomer. Matt Bomer can do no wrong, right? I don't know what else to talk about. There's a lot of twists and turns, and you have ghosts mixing with humans, and humans mixing with ghosts, and this Lee Harris character is tried for murder on various points because her husband goes missing in the woods at one point, and then she confesses to murdering her husband, but then the witness is the daughter who claims that the mother had nothing, mother had everything to do with it, but then the jury takes it as, oh, but the daughter is friends with the spirit girl claiming all of this, so you can't take that at face value. And then you have Lee being possessed by that same nature witch that possessed the butcher at one point, and she's like, surrender to me, and then Lee goes on a killing spree, but then it's like, oh, but you've been butchered and mutilated and damaged, and you're missing an ear and part of your thigh, so obviously you had a mental break and you had to fend for yourself. So then Sarah Paulson's character of Lana Winters from season 4 and season there was another Lana Winters bit, no, just season 2 Lana Winters comes about to do an interview with Lee Harris, the survivor, and she's like, oh, why did you want to meet with me? And Lee's like, oh, you know survival, and like you killed your own son, bloody face, and like they're like, oh, okay. And then like one of the surviving Polk family members tries to kill everyone, and like it's this whole big showdown, and like Lee eventually, her character everyone else winds up dead within the actors and actresses and real life humans going back to Roanoke, producers as well. But you have Lee making a deal with the spirit girl Priscilla to spare her daughter Flora's life, because Flora missing is an entire plot point of the entire 10 episodes, in a sense. So then Priscilla winds up shooting Lee, and then Flora winds up like burning the house down or something to that extent. The Roanoke house, because they all go back to the Roanoke house for the 3rd blood moon cycle, because that makes sense. And then Flora is the last survivor who's ever been stepping foot in the house, kind of a thing. How old is Flora? 10? 12? One of those numbers. Below 13, definitely. It was an interesting season. Very interesting. A lot of people don't like it because it was different. But that's why I like it, because it was different. It was filmed as a documentary. It was filmed as I'm staring off into the distance because I'm trying to figure out what that black spot in the sky is. Looks like a balloon. Low-hanging balloon. Damn big balloon. Could be a UFO. Maybe we're back to season 2. Maybe I'm about to get abducted. Because I'm the special, just like Evan Peters. Who knows? No, it's probably a balloon. Because it keeps going with the wind. Gone with the wind. I don't know what else. I don't know what to say about Roanoke. A lot of people hated it. I didn't love it. I liked it. But again, I'm still associating on that comedy humor aspect when I should be associating with the drama horror aspect. Comedy horror aspect. I'm confusing myself. Did you watch Roanoke? Did you like Roanoke? Are you familiar with the mixing in of the different seasons? How do you like Sarah Paulson's English accent in this season? What do you think about the addition of Cuba Gooding Jr. for this one particular season? I thought he did a good job. That's it. Roanoke. American Horror Story. What'd you think? Join the conversation down below. Mucho mahalo, guys.